Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Shamaniti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sandhyavadi Paschatya Satarine Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Today we're going to be reading about Dhruva Maharaj when I had flown back to the US several weeks ago, and I read the chapter of Dhruva going to the forest, and I decided it would be a beautiful chapter to discuss, and I took many notes on that chapter, and there were so many wonderful things Prabhupada said in his purports there. I was very pleased to read it, and so I took notes, and I'm going to read those notes. And then we can discuss those notes. So I recommend to all of you to read that chapter. It's Dhruva Maharaj Leaves for the Forest, the 4th canto. But so perhaps this class will give you some impetus to read it. So I didn't note the verse numbers, unfortunately. But in any case, let's read. By hearing the activities of pious Dhruva, one can enhance one's faith in God and can directly connect with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And thus one can very soon be elevated to the transcendental platform of devotional service. The example of Dhruva Maharaj's austerities can immediately generate a feeling of devotional service in the hearts of the hearers. So this explains the power of hearing. So Prabhupada's saying several things. If we hear about Dhruva, it'll increase our faith. We'll connect with Krishna. And the third thing, we'll generate a feeling of bhakti within our heart. So that's a nice benediction, and it's also a blessing that we get by hearing. And so let's see if that happens. Let's listen and see if that happens. Dhruva Maharaj expressed his desire to possess a kingdom better than those of his father and grandfather. He frankly stated that he wanted a kingdom which had no competitor within the 3 worlds, namely the higher, middle, and lower planetary systems. The greatest personality within this universe is Lord Brahma, and Dhruva Maharaj wanted a position even greater than this. Amazing. He wanted to take advantage of Narada Muni's presence because he knew very well that if Narada Muni, the greatest devotee of Lord Krishna, could bless him or show him the path, then certainly he would be able to occupy a more exalted position than any person within the 3 worlds. Thus he wanted help from Narada Ji to achieve that position. Dhruva Maharaj wanted a position greater than that of Brahma. This was practically an impossible proposition, but by pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, a devotee can achieve even the impossible. So this is really important. There are several places in which Prabhupada explains that you don't achieve something. No, I haven't become a Shiva Bhakta. I had a little pre-skin cancer cut out. And so I have to keep it covered. It'll take about a week to heal. It's all stitched up and yeah. So there's several places in which Prabhupada explains how impossible things are achieved when Krishna or the pure devotee is pleased. And there are several letters in which Prabhupada explained that you don't achieve success directly by achieving success, but you achieve success when Krishna is pleased. Like last week we were talking about the army of the monkeys and the army of Ravana, and the monkeys didn't have proper weapons, and the Ravana soldiers did. But the monkeys won because they were pleasing Lord Ram, and because Ravana had offended Sita, he couldn't win, even though materially he was more capable. So the idea is that we don't directly succeed because we do something properly, but we succeed because Krishna is pleased. Or we succeed because Krishna's pure devotee is pleased. And so Prabhupada has said this directly. He said, you please Krishna, and then he makes you successful. Now, we have the example of Srila Prabhupada telling us that if you chant 16 rounds and follow 4 negative principles, you go back to Godhead. So some people would say, well, that's difficult to believe. That is Prabhupada's promise. So now what happens when a pure devotee makes a promise? When a pure devotee makes a promise, then Krishna fulfills that promise. That's the way it works. So if Srila Prabhupada makes a promise that if you do this, I will take you back to Godhead, Krishna is now obliged. Krishna is now obliged, yes. I'll survive. I may not look beautiful anymore. You can call me Scarface, but I'll survive. So, you know the story, Duryodhana, he told Bhishma Dev, you have so much affection for the Pandavas that I don't think you're going to fight valiantly. I think you're going to hold back. So Bhishma Dev said, okay, tomorrow I vow that I will kill Arjuna, and the only way that I will not be able to kill Arjuna is if Krishna breaks his promise and defends Arjuna, because Krishna promised he wouldn't fight. And so Krishna did protect Arjuna, and it is said that Krishna fulfilled the statement of Bhishma, because Bhishma said, I would kill Arjuna unless Krishna defends him. And so Krishna said, okay, I'm going to defend Arjuna. So although Krishna broke his promise, he kept the word of Bhishma. And so he broke his promise to keep Bhishma's word. So that shows that Krishna... I didn't get in a fight. It looks like I didn't fall down and break my head. You have these problems if you've been exposed to skin, that if you, a lot of sun, if you don't remove certain sores on your body that don't heal, that can become melanoma. And if melanoma is a skin cancer, if it gets on the skin, it gets in the body. So in some cases, they have to cut them out. So they had to cut this out of my forehead. If you look at videos from maybe 6 months ago, you'll see there's a spot on my forehead. It looks like a tika, a bindi. And that was a skin cancer. They had to cut it out, but they had to slice like that, and then cut it out, and then sew it up. So it was a minor thing, but this will take a while to heal. So for now, for another week or so, I have stitches and a bandage, and then we'll take the stitches out. So for another week, I have to look like I'm a Shiva Bhakta with my stripe across my... Maybe I should do 3, right? No. And it said if you see someone with 3 stripes like that, you have to go bathe. Interesting. Okay. So, so here in the purport, Prabhupada said, if you get the grace of pure devotee, you can achieve the impossible. So what we're trying to do is please Prabhupada. We're trying to please Krishna. And if we do that, then whatever success we want to achieve will come as a byproduct of that, as opposed to doing something to try to be successful that's not pleasing Prabhupada or Krishna. That is insanity. It won't happen. So that's Prabhupada's point. Okay. Very, very important point. We want to please Guru and Krishna. Like, so, yeah. So Prabhupada once said about book distribution, he was asked about it, and he said, well, why are we distributing books? Why is so much emphasis on book distribution? And he said, because Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he pushed book distribution. And so Prabhupada said, I don't know the result, but I know that he pushed it, and he'll be happy, he'll be pleased, so therefore we're going to do it. So that's the idea. And if he's pleased, then everything is good. That was Prabhupada's view. We do what is pleasing to Krishna, he'll make everything successful, then he'll do things that we couldn't do. And we see this as devotees become more Krishna conscious. Krishna makes more arrangements for their service, gives them more resources and facilities, things they couldn't perhaps produce on their own. Or it comes as a byproduct, even sometimes they're not trying for it, but it'll come as a byproduct. Some opportunities will come. So that's the idea. So we'll continue reading. These are selections from verses and purports about the story of Dhruva Maharaj. One particular point mentioned here is that Dhruva Maharaj wanted to occupy an exalted position, not by hook or by crook, but by honest means. So Dhruva Maharaj was offended by his father. His father was being too much controlled by one of his wives. And so Dhruva was offended. Basically, she wouldn't allow Dhruva to sit on the lap of his father. And she said, if you want to sit on the lap of your father, you will have to take birth again from my womb. And so his father, being controlled by that particular wife, didn't allow Dhruva on his lap. When he was trying to get on his lap, he pushed him down. So Dhruva is born in a Kshatriya family, so he was very offended by this. And he was so offended that he wanted to become the most powerful person in the universe. He wanted to retaliate by becoming even more powerful than his father and mother. So that's what Prabhupada's pointing out to. He wanted to occupy an exalted position. He wanted to occupy a position. Okay, I'm not worried. Yes. So he wanted to occupy an exalted position, not by hook or by crook, Prabhupada says, but by honest means. This indicates that if Krishna offered such a position, then he would accept it. So it follows with the purport that we just read, the last one. In other words, should I try to achieve something if it's not ordained by Krishna, if Krishna doesn't want it? Well, no, we shouldn't. There's, Prithu Maharaj, he was offered blessings by Krishna. He said, I would like to offer you blessings. And Prithu Maharaj said, I don't want to ask you for anything. That's not my relationship. But if anything you want to give me that you think is beneficial, then I'll accept it. So that's the idea. I don't want to, I want to take what you want to give me. I don't want to take what you don't want to give me. So, so then Prabhupada said, if Krishna offered him such a position, he would accept it. This is the nature of a devotee. He may desire material gain, but he accepts it only if Krishna offers it. Dhruva Maharaj was sorry to refuse the instruction of Narada Muni. Therefore, he requested him to be merciful to him by showing a path by which he could fulfill his mind's desire. So, for those of you who don't know the story, or to remind us, Dhruva wanted, as we said, wanted to achieve a kingdom greater than his father. So his mother said, well, you should find God and ask him, and the sages go to the forest. So he went to the forest to do austerity. So to do some 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 austerity. So Narada Muni met him, and Narada Muni was testing him and said, "You're a young boy, go back home. You can do this later when you're older." And Dhruva said, "Your instructions are good, but I can't accept them because I'm Kshatriya, and this desire is in my mind, my heart." So here, what's interesting, Prabhupada is saying that he has this desire, he's going to ask Krishna for it, but if Krishna doesn't want to give it to him, he won't accept it. So it's the same point. So he's going to do austerity and see if Krishna is satisfied. And then if Krishna is satisfied and he will fulfill the desire, he will accept it, but independently, he's not going to try to do it. He's going to try to fulfill it by pleasing Krishna. So this was his desire. And so therefore, because he had this desire, Prabhupada says here, he may desire material gain, but he accepts it only if Krishna offers it. So because we're not pure when we first join the Krishna consciousness movement, we may still have some desire. That's normal, that's natural. But Krishna, a devotee's feeling is, well, I have this desire, according to my nature, according to my conditioning, but if Krishna doesn't want to satisfy this desire, then I'll have to accept that. So even though we recognize we have this desire, just like, let's say, for example, you wanted to be a famous something or other, right? And you want to use it for Krishna's service. But you've always had this desire to be famous. So you want to be a famous actress, but you'll do Krishna conscious acting or whatever. Or you'll use your fame to spread Krishna consciousness, to spread Krishna's glories. But your mood is that if Krishna allows this, if Krishna arranges this, I will accept it. And if Krishna doesn't, I won't struggle to achieve it if it's obvious that Krishna doesn't want it, he's not making it happen. That's the idea. So, Prabhupada says here, Dhruva was not trying to achieve his desire to become more powerful than his father or the most powerful person in the universe by hook or by crook. In other words, by hook or by crook means by any means. He was only trying to do it if Krishna would give it. So that's the same point in the last purport. So, this idea of material desire, devotees shouldn't have material desire, but we all know that until we're completely pure, there is some material desire. And so material desire can be dovetailed in Krishna's service, but whether or not Krishna wants to fulfill that desire, the devotee accepts it. If Krishna, he said, I have this desire, Krishna may or may not fulfill it, and I will not try to fulfill it independently of Krishna. Yes, Dhruva was motivated by revenge, but the point here that Prabhupada's making is that the desire was material, but he was worshiping Krishna for it, and if Krishna didn't give it, then he wasn't going to try to get it any other way. Akama sarva kama va moksha kama udaradi. So Bhagavatam says, whether you have all desire, no desire, or you want liberation, approach Krishna. So the point also is that Krishna knows, he already knows our desire. And so you know that Krishna knows your desire, and you only want to please Krishna. And then if you give your life to pleasing Krishna, he may or may not fulfill that desire, but you don't want to endeavor separately to fulfill that desire. So you might look like Dhruva's endeavoring separately, but he's meditating on Krishna, and he wants to ask Krishna, Krishna, this is what I want. And so Krishna might say, well, too bad, you're not going to get it. And it appears that what Prabhupada is saying is that Dhruva's not going to endeavor any other way for it, only if Krishna gives it. So he's doing austerity to see Krishna, so Krishna can be pleased with him and fulfill his desire. But if Krishna doesn't fulfill it, he won't try to fulfill it directly. That's the point. So he's asking Narada Muni, Prabhupada says here, Dhruva Maharaj was sorry to refuse the instruction of Narada. Narada said, go back home. Therefore, he requested him to be merciful to him by showing him a path by which he could fulfill his mind's desire. This is my desire. Show me how I can meet Krishna. I want to ask Krishna to fulfill this desire. Just like you can go to the temple and you can ask Krishna to fulfill your desire. But your mood should be, if this is what you want, if you know what I want, but if this is what you want, and if you think this is beneficial, and so our attitude should be, Krishna, please don't ever fulfill a desire which would be detrimental. But let's say I have this desire. We're giving the example, I have a desire to be a famous actress. Krishna, fulfill this desire if you think it can help me and you think it can help spread Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, I don't want it, don't fulfill it. So we asked, the devotees asked Prabhupada if we could pray for him when Prabhupada was ill. And this happened, I believe, in 74 and then again in 77. And Prabhupada gave this prayer. He said, my dear Lord Krishna, if you so desire, please cure Srila Prabhupada. So even though Prabhupada wanted to live, and you could say Prabhupada needed to live for the benefit of our movement and for our benefit, still Prabhupada didn't want to demand Krishna. It's like, yes, this is my desire. Is it your desire? If it's your this is my desire. If it's your desire, then please fulfill it. That's the idea. So that's the attitude of a devotee, because a devotee encaged in the material body as a conditioned soul in the beginning of Krishna consciousness will have material desire. That's normal. But he's not going to make a separate endeavor. He will only fulfill that material desire in relation to serving Krishna, and only be in the mood that, Krishna, if you want this, if I can make the effort, but my real effort is to serve Krishna and accept Krishna's decision, if you would like to satisfy me by allowing me to do this. And the desire may not even be material. It may be for service. Maybe you want to achieve a certain level of service, and maybe Krishna feels that you're not capable yet, or if you achieve that, it would be bad for you. So that's the idea. So let's read it again in relation to what we had just discussed. Let's read it again. One particular point mentioned here is that Dhruva Maharaj wanted to occupy an exalted position, not by hook or by crook, but by honest means. This indicates that if Krishna offered him such a position, then he would accept it. That is the nature of a devotee. He may desire material gain, but he accepts it only if Krishna offers it. Dhruva Maharaj was sorry to refuse the instruction of Narada Muni. In other words, he had this desire, and Dhruva is saying, go back home, don't worry about this desire, this is not aligned with a 5-year-old's life. You shouldn't be out here doing this. And Dhruva is saying, no, this is my desire, I'm sorry I have it, but I do. So sometimes a devotee feels that way, that like we have a desire and we know we shouldn't have it, but we have it and we're trying to purify it, but it's there. So sometimes we may ask Krishna, can you help me and fulfill this desire? Somehow or other, I have it. And as we know, Krishna won't fulfill a desire if it's detrimental to the devotee. So, purport continues. It's either a continuation of the purport or from another purport. I didn't note the verses, so I can't say. So Krishna Karshani says, should we behave like Dhruva Maharaj, trying to achieve what we want and leave decision to giving at us what we want, or don't try to even fulfill? Depends what the desire is. Yeah, I mean, if you're given a direct instruction by your guru, yes, those you should definitely try to fulfill. If it's desire, like if Krishna Karshana, you want to be the greatest actress in the world, you can go to acting school, but your mood will be, Krishna, if this is what you want, this is what I'm working for. So that's what Dhruva was working for. He said, but if this is what you want. And the other thing is that, based on the other first purport we read, that sometimes what a devotee will do in order to achieve something is they'll compromise their Krishna consciousness. They'll compromise their sadhana. So what Prabhupada said in the other purport is only if Krishna is pleased will our desires be fulfilled. So it's foolish to compromise our sadhana and then try to ask Krishna to fulfill our desire when in fact he fulfills the desire when we please him. So that's the idea. So we should never think that we'll be successful by compromising sadhana or doing something that's not pleasing to Krishna. Like sometimes we're in a situation where it looks like we should do something because it will produce a good result. But if it produces a good result, but it's not pleasing to Krishna, then we shouldn't do it. That's the point. Right? So no, if we do this, people will be pleased. You know, it's interesting when you look at the preaching field, there's a lot of things we could do that would be very pleasing to people. But it's not always that because people are pleased, that means it's a good preaching strategy. No. How did the program go? Oh, people really liked it. Well, it's nice that people like the program, but one time Prabhupada said, yeah, you could sell pornographic literature. You know, certainly you could sell a lot, and people would like it, and they also like to kill babies in the womb. So, just because they like it doesn't mean that the program was successful. The program is successful when Krishna is pleased. Just like you have these stories when the devotees organized programs for Prabhupada and very few people came and they felt so bad, and Prabhupada said, no, Narada Muni was there and the different Lord Brahma was there. And actually one such program, the kirtan was going on, but there were hardly any people there. And all of a sudden, Prabhupada started chanting, Narada Muni Bhajai Bhina Radhikaramananane. And Prabhupada, why did you chant that? Well, didn't you see Narada Muni came? So, if Krishna is pleased, then everything is pleased. So that's the idea. So, Krishna Karshani wants to be the most famous singer in the world. All right, well, you better take singing lessons. And do you want to go on Europe's Got Talent and this and that? And she might say, well, I don't want to take singing lessons. I don't want to go on Europe Has Talent. So then you have to rethink it. Maybe you just want to sing for Krishna. And so yes, anyway, if you want to be the best singer in the world, you can endeavor for that. But and then use it for Krishna, but your attitude is Krishna. If you want, then, or you don't want, then I'll accept that. And you wouldn't allow that desire to infringe upon your service and your sadhana. That's what Prabhupada is saying. That only if Krishna is pleased. Only if Krishna is pleased would it happen. What's amazing? What is amazing? Did I say something amazing? I don't think I did. What did I say? What's amazing? What? You're going to become the most famous singer in the world? If Krishna wants. Prabhupada told me I'd never be famous. Ha ha! So I don't even have to try. Hare Krishna. Let's read on. Therefore, whenever any sacrifice is offered to a demigod, the Supreme Lord, in the form of Narayana Shila or Shalagram Shila, is put forward to observe the sacrifice. Actually, the demigods cannot give any benediction without the sanction of the Supreme Lord. So Prabhupada's making the same point. If you're doing a yajna, then even if you're worshiping the demigods, you have to have a Narayan Shila or Shalagram Shila because Vishnu has to be pleased. And if Vishnu is pleased, everything would be auspicious. Prabhupada said even the impersonalists will do bhakti because they want to get they understand that they need Krishna's mercy to be successful. They need Krishna's mercy to be Krishna. Anyway, the point is that, at the program, Narada Muni at the program, yeah. Narada Muni showed up for the kirtan. So, So, if you study Prabhupada's letters, you'll see that oftentimes Prabhupada would respond to a description of the devotees preaching by saying, "I'm very pleased." So that's all the devotees needed to hear. If Prabhupada's pleased, then whatever we're doing is good. And maybe we would be very successful doing something which was not pleasing to Prabhupada. So even though externally it appeared to get some good result, if Prabhupada wasn't pleased by that, or the method we were using was compromising Krishna consciousness in some way, then fie on our success. That means, what's the value of our success? There's a story, really interesting story that Shrutakirti tells. He said that, I believe it must have been Los Angeles, that he had just come back to Los Angeles with Prabhupada, and a lot of his old friends were there because he lived in Los Angeles before he became Prabhupada's servant. So he thought, well, I'll go to Mangal Artik, because in those days, everyone was at Mangal Artik, and by going to Mangal Artik, he could see them. And, Prabhupada knows everything. So he told Harikesh, I believe it was Harikesh, he said, where is Shrutakirti? And he said, I think he's at Mangal Artik. He said, go get him. So he called him back. And he said, why did you go to Mangal Artik? And I forget what Shrutakirti said. And Prabhupada said, you're my servant. Your job is 24 hours a day to be next to me. You're going to Mangal Artik is Maya. Wow. You like that, right? Going to Mangal. Yeah, I always knew going to Mangal Artik was Maya. I should sleep in. No, not like that. No, because that wasn't Prabhupada's order. His order was, don't go to Mangal Artik. So therefore, if the Guru orders you not to go to Mangal Artik, and you go to Mangal Artik, then going to Mangal Artik is Maya. Isn't that interesting? So it's, so in one scenario, you may do something which is pleasing to Guru and Krishna, and in another scenario, perhaps that same activity is not, and therefore you don't get mercy. Even though the activity in and of itself does not provide the mercy. The mercy comes from pleasing Guru and Krishna. So that's why we could have success, or we could do something which seems to be the right thing, but if it's not what Prabhupada wants, then it's the wrong thing. And so we always want to do what's most pleasing to Krishna. If you can get people to chant Hare Krishna, that's very pleasing to Prabhupada and Krishna. The more people you can get to chant Hare Krishna, the more you will please them and the more mercy you will get. Right? So, like I say, we can do things which please people, but we want to make sure what we're doing is pleasing Prabhupada. That's the most important thing, and pleasing Krishna. Then, if Krishna wants us to be successful, he'll make it successful. We continue the purport. A devotee engaged in service to the Lord is not disappointed in the satisfaction of his senses. If he wants to satisfy his senses, Krishna fulfills that desire. As far as liberation is concerned, any devotee fully engaged in the service of the Lord is already liberated. Therefore, there is no separate necessity for his liberation. So, what does this mean? This is interesting. A devotee engaged in the service to the Lord is not disappointed in the satisfaction of his senses. If he wants to satisfy his senses, Krishna fulfills that desire. Then you might say, why would a devotee want to satisfy his senses? I was thinking about this. Well, there's two ways of looking at it. One way is looking at it, as we were discussing before, that I have desires, but I'm not even making an effort to fulfill those desires. I'm just making an effort to please Krishna. So I was thinking, I'm going to Mexico, and one of the things we're going to do in Mexico this coming Wednesday evening is we're going to do a concert. So I'm going down and we're going to rehearse Monday and Tuesday, and we're going to do a concert. So we're going to sing. We'll do the Brahma Samhita. We'll do Govinda Jaya Jaya. We'll do one or two songs from my CD, English songs, but we'll do them in Spanish, and we may do one or two other songs. So so we'll put a nice band together, and we'll have bass and guitar, and maybe two guitars and keyboard and mridanga and some singers. So it's a nice band, and maybe a woodwind player, flute or clarinet or something. So it's quite a band. So I was just thinking about this, and I was thinking, for as a devotee, that's what I wanted to do. I always wanted to play in a band. And so now Krishna's fulfilling that desire. This is, these are all really, really good musicians. And so, Jagannath Ballabha, I don't know who the text is from, but it's from the chapter in Dhruva Maharaj Goes to the Forest from the 4th canto, but I don't know the specific reference. But it'll be one of the first 3 or 4 or 5 purports. So I was not endeavoring to create a band, but we had a preaching strategy, and a major part of our preaching strategy is to get people to chant, and specifically from kirtan to get them to start chanting japa. So this was just part of the preaching strategy. So as part of the preaching strategy, we put this band together because, you do a concert and people come. And if it's successful, next time we do it, more people will come. And then Prem Kishore said there's some yoga business owners coming, and if they like the kirtan, then they'll engage us in doing kirtan in their yoga studio. So the more kirtan we do, the more we contact people. So I was thinking, Krishna has fulfilled my desire. And then I was also thinking, there's a room over here. See, behind that door, there's a room. And in that room, I have a studio, which is where I recorded my last album. The last album was finished in 2014, but I had a couple synthesizers and a couple of guitars and, recording gear and microphones. And I was thinking, well, this is something I always wanted to do, so Krishna provided that over time. So that's one way we understand what Prabhupada is saying here, is that even I'm not endeavoring. Prabhupada said here, a devotee engaged in the service of the Lord is not disappointed in the satisfaction of his senses. And so that I was thinking, you look at so many devotees and they have comfortable lives. They have nice places to live, nice cars. They have sufficient clothing, sufficient food. So the satisfaction of their senses, it's done without any really separate endeavor. They're just trying to be devotees, and Krishna is fulfilling. So that's one thing. Krishna is, he's taking care of his devotees. But then Prabhupada goes on to say, Krishna, if he wants to satisfy his senses, Krishna fulfills that desire. So, what does Prabhupada mean? Well, one thing he means is that a devotee wants to be married and have children, have income, a nice home, and so forth. Krishna will help that. Krishna will arrange that, if that's what he wants. So that's not a bad desire. That's just a normal, like what Prabhupada is saying. You have there's a physical needs. So marriage you could say, is a physical need, just as food and sleep and shelter and so forth. So we have physical needs, and different devotees will have those needs, or some of those needs, or we'll all, let's say 2 devotees have the same needs, but they'll have different needs and how those needs are fulfilled, different levels. So Krishna will fulfill that, so a devotee is fulfilled, so the devotee can focus on his service. Krishna will not fulfill needs in a way that would deviate us. That's important. So we know that because Krishna says that, and we've discussed it. And then Prabhupada says the devotee doesn't have to worry about liberation because he's already liberated. So Krishna Karshani has a question. I believe that many of us are dealing with a situation that we want to please our Guru by result, and we feel stressed because we are afraid that we're disappointing him. We all know that the mood, is pleasing Guru, but we also want to offer results to the Guru. Well, yes, but we want to please the Guru, and the first point is that if we sincerely try to please the Guru, he will be pleased. And that was demonstrated by Prabhupada many, many, many times. That he was very happy if a devotee would make the effort. And Prabhupada knew from his own experience that sometimes you make an effort and you don't get a result. He lived that life. So making the effort to please the Guru, that's the real thing. And of course, naturally, we want to get results. But Prabhupada's point was that if you continually to try to please the Guru, then over time results will naturally come. Krishna will arrange. And we've also seen that. That happens. Look at how the movement spread. We weren't that qualified. But one thing you see, it's nice to read Prabhupada's letters because you will see how often he uses the word, I'm very pleased with blank, blank, blank. And what he was very pleased with was not necessarily a Herculean service. It was just that devotees may have been traveling, giving lectures and classes in universities and distributing books on campus, and not even just meeting intelligent students and not even distributing that many books. But Prabhupada would say, I'm very pleased with your efforts. So, we're just trying to distribute books. Whoops. We're just trying to distribute books. Hold on a second, I have to charge my iPad. We're trying to distribute books, and whatever we would do, insignificant. Prabhupada was pleased with that. So I always felt that the attitude is what's most important. My iPad is so interesting. Sometimes I can't turn it on. Oh, okay. It's on again. So, it's different if you're working in real time in a situation and something needs to be done and has to be finished in an hour. Obviously, you want to get that done for your Guru exactly the way it needs to be done. There are certain situations where, things have to be done to a certain level, right? So yes, then we are in anxiety and we want to do it to that level, but not we want to, we have to. This has to be done in this way by this time. But at the same time, the mood should always be there to please the Guru, not to show off that I'm the best disciple or whatever, because Krishna would ruin that. So both things are there. I want to please the Guru. And the other thing is also that Prabhupada understood that we all have different capacities, and some disciples just were able to do certain things better than others or more expansively. Some could open temples, some could distribute books, some were good writers, and they were just better karmically, materially. They were better at those things than other devotees. So Prabhupada would choose them to do those things. And so Prabhupada understood that. And so he knew that karmically we all have a certain capacity, and of course Krishna would help us do more, but he understood that we all, can do what we can do. And so Prabhupada would engage people accordingly. And then he would have expectations based on their past performance. But he wasn't working personally with so many people. So generally, we would try to do our best, and Prabhupada would be pleased. And you know your own nature, and you know what you can do. And also, that's why these purports are so valuable, because we know our own limitations, and therefore we know how important it is that we do what's pleasing to Guru and Krishna, because they can make things happen that we could never make things happen. And I think we read that last week, that they can do what's impossible. By pleasing, we just read it now. The first purport we read, Krishna can make the impossible possible if he's pleased by what we're doing. So I think I have desires to preach in a certain way, and sometimes I make an effort to achieve them, and it doesn't happen. And then I think, okay, Krishna, if you want it to happen, then I will just desire to please you, and I will do my best to please you, and let's see what happens. And then with faith that maybe it could happen even better than what I could do if I just on my own trying to make it happen. And I'm trying, and it's not happening the way I want in every area. And in some areas it's happening far greater than I even could imagine. So it's just an acceptance of that's the process, that's how it works. So the main thing is try to please Guru by making your best efforts. And some of us will do better than others because we're just more capable in certain areas. But still, I believe that if you keep trying to please Guru, you'll get better. And Prabhupada understood that. You'll just get better. Do it. Make a mistake. You'll get better. You'll get better. Just like we're doing a retreat in Mexico. And so we have a certain strategy, and the strategy was we did the 1,000 Voices, 1,000 Hearts concert. From there we attracted people to an introductory course. From the introductory course we attracted people to a retreat. And so now we're doing the retreat, which is kind of the culmination. And so this is a little bit experimental, because we haven't done this particular strategy this way. So I was telling Prem Kishore that, this is the beginning, so it's not so much about getting results now, but it's more about understanding the process, what will work and what won't work, so that next time we can do it better, and next time, again, we'll look at the process, next time we'll do it better, better, better. So that's the idea. So try to please Krishna, see how I could do it better next time. Try to please Guru and Krishna, see how I can do it better next time. Do it. How can I do it better next time? Do it. So that will all come from your desire to please. So pleasing is the most important. Hare Krishna. So let's continue reading. Okay. So, Narada Muni instructed Dhruva to meditate on Krishna. And so there's a description in this chapter of how beautiful Krishna is. And here's the description. Narada Muni continued, the Lord's form is always youthful. Okay, now what I'd like you to do, forget that this person is God. Just imagine, I told you, I just met this person. You won't believe this person I met. So I'm going to remove the word Lord. Because if you make this real for you, because when we say Lord, it's like, oh, Lord is like God and, majestic and this and that. But he's a person. So just imagine this, that I met this person and I'm going to introduce you to this person. So I met this person and his form is always youthful. Every limb and every part of his body is properly formed. It's perfect. He never gets old. Every part of his body is perfect. His eyes are perfect. His nose is perfect. His hair is perfect. His body, his arms, his lips. Isn't that what beauty is? When you see a beautiful person, it's like, oh, everything's perfect, apparently. And then you look down their body and you go, oh, they've got ugly feet. Yeah, their nose is too big. Right? So this body, wherever you go, from the toe to the head, everywhere in between, is perfect. Beautiful hands, beautiful feet, beautiful eyes, nose, lips, neck, chest, legs, everything is perfect. And they never get old. And there's no defect anywhere in his body. His eyes and lips are pinkish, like the rising sun. Pinkish eyes, wow. He is always prepared to give shelter to the surrendered soul, and anyone so fortunate as to look upon him feels all satisfaction. The Lord is always worthy to be the master of the surrendered soul, for he is the ocean of mercy. So, this is the form that Dhruva Maharaj saw. So, Dhruva Maharaj is meditating. I want to become the most powerful person in the world, and I want to ask Krishna for this blessing. So here Prabhupada says, anyone so fortunate to look upon him feels all satisfaction. So that's what happened to Dhruva. So Dhruva's meditating. I want to be the most powerful person in the universe, more powerful than any of my ancestors. Who was his ancestor? His ancestor was Lord Brahma. He wants to be more powerful than Lord Brahma. So, then he's meditating on this form inside, and he opens his eyes, and that form that he was meditating inside is outside. And he sees this form. There's no defect. It's perfect. Pink eyes, pink lips, just like the rising sun. Ever youthful. One who can give shelter to all surrendered. And he sees this form. And in the first canto of the Bhagavatam, it says when the devotee saw Krishna's form, it was as if the form was the drinking pot for the eyes. It was like an endless flow of nectar that they could drink through their eyes. So now Dhruva is seeing this form, unlike any form he's ever seen. And he's just drinking it in with his eyes. And so now he's drinking in this form. What is he experiencing? He completely forgot himself. He completely forgot his desire to have a kingdom. Because why would he even think of that? Now he's seeing this form. And this is like another dimension of reality, what he's seeing. It's so transcendently beautiful that he's just drinking it in. And while he's drinking it in, it's like this is a million times greater than being a Brahma or better than Brahma. You could imagine, Actually, I always say you could imagine, but then I always correct myself and I say, no, you can't imagine. What I mean to say is, let us try to imagine. Let us try to imagine now Dhruva Maharaj is seeing Krishna, this perfect, ever youthful, effulgent, transcendental form. Every part of the body is perfect. There's no defect. And just emanating from Krishna is just the compassion, kindness. And then Dhruva's looking at this. And it's like, And he's just drinking in this beauty. More beautiful. How beautiful is Krishna? Okay, well, let's try to imagine. Take the most beautiful model, airbrushed to perfection. You see them when you go to the airport and duty free in the perfume, perfume and makeup section, you see the airbrush models, both male and female. So let's take the most beautiful model you could imagine, airbrushed beyond reality, and then multiply that like maybe 100 billion times. Maybe that's a fraction of Krishna's beauty. Okay, and that's what Dhruva Maharaj is seeing. So we can imagine that because he's seeing that, he's overwhelmed and he's completely forgot his desire. You know, maybe another example is you're hungry and you come home and you're thinking, oh, there's nothing to eat. There's nothing to eat and I'm starving. And you look in the fridge and it's like, oh, I just, if I could just find something, and everything is stale, and then all of a sudden somebody comes home with a 20-course feast and you were just about to eat some stale bread. And as soon as you see that feast, you forget everything in your house and you just eat that. So Dhruva forgot everything he wanted, he forgot. Question. We can see that other devotees are able to do more for our guru, and we may feel we are not that capable, and we may feel discouraged and not even try because we may feel we may never please our guru. To the degree others do. How to overcome this kind of discouraging thought? Well, what do you think would be more pleasing to your guru? Trying or doing nothing? I think to overcome this thought, we have to understand our capacity, understand what we do well. Just like you do certain things well, I do certain things well, Jenny does certain things well, who else? Basu. Priya does certain things well. Sri Guru Charana does certain things well. Madhavi Gauri does certain things well. Jessica does certain things. Rahul does. Ridha does. Sugopi Madhuri does. Dira Vaishnava. Dira. Gopinath. Randy. All of us. We all do certain things well. And other things we don't do well. And some people do everything well. So, Prabhupada said everyone is useful in Krishna service. So, from the transcendental perspective, it's not how much you do, it's the devotion you put into it. So, maybe I can distribute 100 books, maybe you can only distribute 2, or maybe I can only distribute 2, you can distribute 100. So that's, what I can do. You're extrovert, I'm introvert. I don't do well in Sankirtan, you do really well. So that's what I can do. So, but still let me try according to my capacity. And I've seen book distributors who were kind of introverted, not that good, who just did it year after year, doing horribly, and eventually they became quite good at it. So that is there also. You can also learn. But Prabhupada told us we're supposed to be happy when we see other devotees doing well. We should be happy. Oh, so-and-so's doing well. And if we can't be happy because we don't think we can do that well, and we don't want others to outdo us, and we don't want others to get the credit, because now I'm not the number one pet disciple of my guru, etc., that is 100% material consciousness. And so therefore, you have this awkward situation by associating with the guru who is supposed to deliver you out of material consciousness. It can cause you to become more in material consciousness because you're competing with other disciples to be the number one guru, which, we saw that recently in Mayapur. That happened with one disciple. So the disciple didn't understand what it meant, and that disciple wanted recognition as the number one disciple or the first disciple. So it caused so many problems. And that's not what the Guru is looking for. Devotion is difficult to measure. Well, you can measure it in your own advancement and your own detachment and your own inspiration. But This mentality we definitely need, that when others do well, we should be happy. And so when we find out that others are successful and we're not happy about it, or we're envious, why them, why not me? We should stop and meditate on what's going on. This is the material world. So we're now, if we think that way, we're in material consciousness. So the result of doing devotional service is that I can't be number one, and if I can't be number one, I become envious of somebody else, and that devotional service has put me in material consciousness. So that's so unfortunate, isn't it? So I just sent something out to go on to the WhatsApp group, and it said, how do you know if you're spiritually advanced? And I said, you know when another devotee excels you and you're happy. That's how you know you're making spiritual advancement. That's one way you know. So, and to think that you would please the spiritual master by being envious or not happy when another person is successful, no, it's the other way around. If another person is successful and you're happy, then your guru is happy that you're happy that the other person was successful. And so if one disciple is successful, and then the guru finds out that another disciple is envious of that disciple because that disciple was successful and the other one wanted to be more successful, you think that's going to please him? No, he's going to think, after all these years and after all this preaching, this is what this disciple has understood, that they have to be number one, or they have to try to outdo everybody. You know what Prabhupada said? Really, really interesting. You know the story of Vamana. Vamana, when he was offered any benediction, he told Bali Maharaj, he said, no, I'll just take 3 steps, I'm a Brahmin. Bali said, no, but I can give you more. He said, no, if you can't be satisfied with 3 steps, then you're not going to be satisfied with the whole universe. So Prabhupada said, what are those 3 steps? He said, some prasadam, some service, and a place to sleep. Those are the 3 steps. Isn't that nice? Your 3 steps to be satisfied: some prasadam, some service, and a place to sleep. Not to be number one. That's not part of the 3 steps. Trinadapi sanichena tororapi sanish. Isn't that nice to meditate on? Our 3 steps are, we have some service. So we're happy, I have some service. I may not be the biggest servant or the greatest servant, but I have some service, and let me do what I want. You know, I like that story of the fish that were washed up on the ocean, and this one man he's going up the beach and throwing fish back in the water. Somehow or the tide brought all these fish up. So he was feeling some compassion for them, and he wanted to save as many fish as he could, but there were thousands of fish. And so one little boy came up to him and said, what are you doing? And he said, oh, well, I'm saving the fish. I'm throwing the fish, saving their life. And he said, but there's so many fish on you, you know. It's like, what difference can you make? And as he threw one fish in the ocean, he said, well, it made a difference to that one. So service is like that. Maybe, you know, maybe I'm not going to make 1 million people Krishna conscious. Maybe I'll only make a few. But if I can make someone a pure devotee, Prabhupada said that my mission is successful. So if I can do something to help somebody, that's something, right? And if Krishna likes what I'm doing, maybe he'll make an arrangement that I can help more people. And maybe someday I will be doing outstanding service. And I would say that if we have this attitude that I'm happy that others are successful, and I'm happy with whatever I can do, I try my best to please Guru and Krishna, that is the best position for Krishna to utilize us, for us to be successful. Because if you think Krishna wants to make you successful because you want to outdo somebody else out of false prestige, I don't think so. You know, he wants to make, you know, like Radhana, I was in Mayapur and I was asking Radhanath Swami some questions about Guru. And he was saying, well, it was never my intention to be Guru. Now he has so many disciples, which is kind of interesting, because we did see in the early days after Prabhupada left, we did see that there were some gurus, and even you see this a little bit, even today it can be there to some degree. There's some gurus who are not thinking that I don't really want disciples, and let other people take initiation from someone else. There's some gurus who want disciples. Some of them want disciples for the right reason, but we saw some wanted them for the wrong reason, just to become more powerful. And so Radhanath Swami is saying, well, I really didn't want disciples. And he told me, he said, after Kirtanananda left, because he was in charge of a preaching center or temple that was run by Kirtanananda. When Kirtanananda left, then he said he tried to encourage all the new people who were coming, or the ones who wanted reinitiation, to take initiation from other devotees, but they wanted him. He was like cornered, trapped. He said, no, take from this one, that one. He said, no. So he said, I never even wanted to do it. And then it happened. And I said, but you have so many disciples now. He said, I do it as a service, because they ask, and temple leaders say, would you initiate these devotees? So I take it as a service. So Krishna was using him, and Krishna is using him in so many ways, in ways that I'm sure he never originally intended, but the facility just came. So that, I think it's a good example of how a person is very renounced, who's doing something because it's asked of him, it's a service, not because he wants to be better than his other god brothers. You could say, from a material point of view, the Radhanath Swami has turned out one of the most successful preachers in ISKCON. But we definitely know that wasn't his motive. His motive wasn't, I want to be the most successful preacher in ISKCON, so I can be a big gun and so forth. His motive is the opposite. He never thought like that. So that's the kind of person Krishna will empower. If you want to outdo somebody, then maybe you'll outdo them and become proud, and it'll be your downfall. So then Krishna wouldn't want to empower you. It's easy to be happy seeing success of those devotees we like, but difficult to be happy when we see the success of those we don't like. Yes, but a devotee loves everyone. So the problem is solved, because we like all the other devotees. Isn't it interesting how Krishna, he tests us, doesn't he? The sun is coming out. I'm going to move over here. So, isn't it interesting how Krishna makes this arrangement to test us, so that he'll give success to someone we don't like. And then he'll say, okay, I'm going to watch you now. What are you going to do? How are you thinking? And then if he sees that you're happy, I said, this is good. I'm happy that Krishna consciousness is spreading and he's been successful. Then Krishna says, okay, I think I can make you successful also. But if you say, oh, I hate that he's successful, why him? Why not me? Then Krishna says, forget you. Forget your success. Why should I give you success? I should be happy. And I always feel something very, what's the word? I want to use the word warm, but there's a better word than warm. I want to use the word happy, but there's a better word than happy. I could say happy, yeah. When someone finds out about the success of another and they feel happy for that person, it makes me happy. Because I see there's no envy there. They go, wow, I'm so... Like I have a godbrother. I was just talking to a godbrother yesterday. And this godbrother has had many challenges. And during Prabhupada's time, he was temple president and successful in many ways. But in recent years, maybe the last 20, he's had a lot of challenges. And so he's tried to be successful, but he has not been that successful in what he's doing. And then he asked me what I was doing, and I told him some things I was doing, and he was really excited and happy. And that made me happy, because here he is, someone who's really not doing well, and I told him some success we're having, and he goes, "Oh, I'm so happy, that's so great." And that made me so happy, because I could see that, there's such a nice attitude that he had. He was happy that I was successful, even though he wasn't. So I would say in answer to this question that it's certainly not a challenge to be happy when a devotee you like is successful, or a devotee who's doing some service that you're never going to do, so there's no competition, is successful. But if you don't like the devotee, or the devotee's doing the exact same service and doing better than you, then that now becomes a test. And it's good that we can test ourselves this way and say, okay, now let me look at my standing as a devotee. I'm looking at this devotee is becoming more and more acknowledged by my guru, or acknowledged by devotees in general. And this devotee is really on a trajectory, on a path to becoming really highly esteemed in the association of devotees. And this was a really good opportunity now for me to become very happy at the success of this devotee. That will purify me if I'm happy. And certainly if I'm not happy, it will contaminate me, and it's also a sign that I'm contaminated. So I would just say that, it's a fantastic test. Tests are wonderful. Haribol Talia, see you soon in Mexico. There's a comment. Okay. Radha Priya says, but it is a healthy competition to please more and more our Guru Maharaj. Yeah, it can be a healthy competition. If you, let's say, we did something in Mexico, like we did the 1,000 Voices, 1,000 Hearts, and you call up Prem Kishore and you say, Prem Kishore, 500 people came to your program, but we're going to do it in Colombia. We're going to get 2,000 people. So we're going to have transcendental competition. And so your mood is that you were inspired that he did it in Mexico, and his inspiration got you. And Prem Kishore will say, wow, that's fantastic. I'm really inspired. And I hope you succeed, and you're inspiring me to get 3,000 people next time we do it. So yeah, that competition is healthy, where there's no envy. But the competition where there's envy, wherever there's envy, it degrades it to the material level, because that envy is material level. That's why in this question, how do you know if you're becoming Krishna conscious? I said, when you're happy that someone else is successful, then you know you're becoming Krishna conscious. Because if there's envy, then you're in material consciousness. That's the nature of envy. So Prabhupada said it. I was in the class when he said it. He said, if you're envious, you're in the material world. If you're jealous, then you're in the material world. If you're not jealous, you're not envious, you're in the spiritual world. So it's pretty clear. Whoops. Partgovinda Kijai, he says, if we see devotees but a bit puffed up with success, I feel that he needs to be humbled down. That's all a subtle way of envy. How it can change his mentality. Yeah. Here's an interesting question you could ask yourself. Are there any devotees I'd like to fix? Like you see devotees in ISKCON and say, I don't like the way this devotee, I don't like his mentality, or I don't like the way he acts, or I don't like the way he speaks, or I don't like the way he does his service, or I don't like the way he treats other devotees. Is there any devotee that I'd like to fix? Well, if you're a temple president and the devotee's misbehaving, you may have to fix them. If you're a guru, you may have to fix a disciple, and so on. That's your seva. But here we're not talking about seva, we're just talking about think, are there any devotees in ISKCON who you would like to fix? Fix means to make them different, that you wish they weren't the way they were. Are there any devotees in ISKCON that you wish they were not the way they are, and you would like to change them in some way? Well, if the answer is yes, that's a problem. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, you can't change anybody, you can't help anybody. Unfortunately, I don't know the context of that statement, if he was replying to something, but I would have to guess that somebody was trying to, in some way, fix a devotee, and he was saying, it's not your business, you can't fix him. You can only work on yourself. So that was his message. So, Pargovinda, what you say is very true. Sometimes we see a devotee and we think, you're not acting properly, you shouldn't act this way, this is not beneficial for the other devotees, not beneficial for the movement, and so on. And, but it's not our position. It actually, if we were advanced, we wouldn't think that way. We would just think, I'm the most fallen. Or maybe you won't think you're the most fallen, but you'll think, I'm fallen also. I'm full of faults. So let me just work on myself. That's how we would think. And that's the message. So again, it's another test. We see a devotee and we think, well, they're saying the wrong thing or doing the wrong thing. And then we catch ourselves and we think, yeah, but I'm not perfect. So let me focus on that. Right? That's the idea. That's the way we have to see it. So Satyarupa says, it means we should better be inspired by others' success than envious. Yeah? Because if you're envious, if we're envious, it degrades our consciousness. And if we're inspired, then it uplifts us. So if I'm inspired, naturally, I'm going to do better service. If I'm envious, I might do better service, but it's out of material competition to put you down, and so that's the wrong mood. So if you are materially envious, and that's the motive of your service, and you become successful in your service, you still fail because your motive is toxic. And so why should we be successful if our means is just to outdo somebody? Okay, I'm going to go out to outdo others. So I'm going to go out and distribute more books because I want to show that I'm better than so-and-so. Or I'm going to build my temple up to be bigger than your temple to show that I'm better than you. So that shows no understanding of what bhakti is. Bhakti is what is pleasing to Krishna. And to be envious of devotees, is that pleasing to Krishna? Of course it's not. So if my motive is out of envy, envy's not pleasing, so it makes no sense, right? Anyway, the material world is a big trap, which we can easily fall into. Wow, it's 9:20. I didn't realize it was that late. I think, oh, you know why I didn't realize it was that late? Look what the time on my iPad says. Well, you can't see it. My iPad says it's 9:09. Why? iPad, I don't like you. You said it's 9:09. It's not 9:09, is it? My watch says 9:20. Is it 9:09 or 9:20, or is my watch broken? And I can't even look on my phone. Anyway, Nijadam says, it boils down to what you said earlier, Trinada peace in each meditation on this verse. Solves all problems, yeah. Become that verse. You just have to work a few lifetimes on it. Jai Jagannath. So we'll have class tomorrow, same time we'll continue. This is an amazing chapter. There's so many interesting things Prabhupada said. So thank you all for coming. And 9:20. Yeah. My tablet has got the time wrong. That's amazing. Don't trust your tablet. Mona says, one should get motivated in association by others' success, that one can also do service according to one's talent. Yeah. And will be more inspired. If we're not envious, then you can get genuine inspiration. If you're envious, you'll get the contaminated inspiration. Right? I'm going to outdo you. Why? So I can be better? No. If I'm not envious, I'm inspired. Yeah. Let me be like you. Let me do what you're doing. I have so much admiration for you. That's the idea. Okay. All right. So we'll see you all tomorrow, same time, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, which is 7 o'clock in Monterrey, Mexico, and Mexico City, and is 3 o'clock in London, I believe. No, 1 o'clock in London, and maybe 2 o'clock in Poland. So this is a good time for most people. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Go Premanandi. Hare Hare Bol.